I have this whole thing about like references to Babylon in reggae music, right?
Yeah, okay.
And Babylon is pretty much synonymous with whatever's quickest and easiest and cheapest is usually a product of Babylon.
Okay.
So we're doing everything to the maximum difficulty for Ja.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome to Welcome. 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 Welcome to GhostEater And Friends.
Hello. Welcome
Hello.
to another GhostEater And Friends episode, what, 4? 4! Wow. Really moving up there. I got my man Paul with Head in a Bin. He is the founder, owner, and I think he designed the whole system, right?
No, I didn't design like the boxes or anything, but I carefully like curated what we use, and I own all the equipment.
Yeah, let's go through it. So we talked a little bit about it before. You know, we were discussing the JBLs. There's JBLs powering most of it.
Yeah. It's funny how that worked out. So, I mean, I wanted to get into doing the sound system for a long time before I even got my hands on any of the gear. And I spent a lot of time online, like browsing and shopping around and just seeing like, where do I start? And I had so much to learn.
Yeah.
But through all the times I spent like on Facebook groups and stuff, I came across this guy in Wisconsin who was selling a lot of he had like 9 or 10 18-inch JBL subwoofers.
Nice. Okay.
And I was
good to get started.
Right. It looked like a good opportunity. So I hit him up, and I still didn't know much at the time. And I was like, hey, man, like just trying to like politely ask, do you know what kind of box those are good in? And because there's specifics, like every woofer is only rated to work in a box of like X amount of volume and shaped a certain way to get the most efficiency out of the sound. But yeah, he was like, I'll do you one better. I can build you the box that JBL designed it for.
Oh, nice.
And that ended up being the W bins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he built me my first pair, and we used those for a couple years, and then I eventually had him build another pair and another pair. Sure. And now we have 6.
How many are you up to? 6? Okay.
Yep. So we're on like our 3rd generation of the system right now with 6 W bins. And I think that's probably where we'll stay.
Yeah.
I can't fit anything more in the trailer, so I'm capped out.
Okay. What amperage are you using to power it?
Each woofer in each sub cabinet is only 600 watts RMS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a JBL. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah, gotta be exact around here.
I got a lot of notes written down. JBL 2240. It's a 8 ohm 600 watt driver. So
nice. Okay.
I'm running them at, I have to math.
Don't take your time.
12. So 1800 watts per channel at 2 ohms. So 3 subs on one channel and 3 subs on the other.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good though. I mean, that's got to deliver enough that you need. I mean,
it blew me away, especially when we switched to a Midas preamp for our mixer. It's got way louder than I ever expected to it.
Nice. That's always a good surprise, right?
Well, and the thing I love about JBLs is even at very low volumes, they still deliver all the sound and all the feel.
Yeah.
So I don't need to crank it up. Like, it's all there.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
it's all
good
about
to
the
hear.
clarity.
So when we kind of talked a little bit about it, when we were kind of get to know each other here a minute ago. You said that sound system culture is where you specialize now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
that's
mostly
not
what we do.
that's not corporate. That's a
Correct.
pretty specialized use of a sound system. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty niche.
Yeah, can you kind of tell us your journey? Like how did you wind up as a sound system culture guy?
Yeah. Well, anytime I get interested in something, I find, especially with music or just art in general, I love to find out what inspired it. So, like, if there's a band I like, I'm going to find out what bands they listen to and what bands those guys listen to and just kind of follow it back and see where I end up. And I've always loved the sound of reggae music since I was a child. I mean, it's world music. It's universally approachable. But so seemingly completely unrelated to all that, I was making dubstep music. And like doing shows, locally at like Barfly and stuff.
Yeah,
I was like little bedroom producer.
We all put our time there.
We all did our time. Yeah. Oh God. Anyway. But the influence of roots reggae music in the like more underground, less commercialized dubstep is undeniable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I kind of took an interest in that and started tracing it back through the culture. And so historically, sound system came about as a counterculture to nightlife in Jamaica. During the colonization and everything in Jamaica, they had nightclubs in Kingston that you had to dress up, you had to pay money. Yeah. It sound familiar?
Yeah, that club life is alive and well.
Yeah, it's all about keeping up with the Joneses and greasing palms. And so the common working people, they didn't want anything to do with that.
Right.
So they built their own boxes and they had their own dances out in the middle of the street.
Oh, wow, interesting.
And it was always meant to be for the community, for families,
right.
For everyone. And
it's similar to rave culture, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you trace it back, it's kind of the roots of all electronic musical subculture.
So, I mean, how far we're talking pretty far back in time then, it sounds like.
Like around the 1950s.
Yeah.
Like I'm no expert, I'm just an enthusiast.
Sure.
So like you can fact check me on all of this, but it's just what I've come to learn.
Yeah. Well, it's different from being so long ago. Like you're right, like that just sounds pretty foundational.
Yeah. And just the people, and so it was always, each sound system was so unique because they were all homemade, and you could play the same song on 3 different sound systems. There would be a different experience on each one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of always been baked into the DIY culture around collecting your own gear, building your own stuff, and like what you want to accomplish with it.
Yeah, okay. So
like, do you want to make people's ears bleed, or do you want everybody to just get that mellow vibe? Like, that's not more about that kind of.
Yeah, you're more the mellow vibe. I like the deep vibe.
Oh yeah, I always went in that direction. So I got to shout out Get Darker as a big influence, and when I was getting into dubstep back in like 2012.
Shout out.
that was it for me. I was like, those are the guys.
You got hooked, huh?
Oh man, that was the vibe for sure.
So you were like kind of making deeper music, it sounds like, or you kind of were inspired to, and then did that kind of lead you further into like the sound system culture world? Like you're like, all right.
Yeah, so chronologically, I guess my journey was like, I was, I mean, like I said, even as a kid, I loved reggae. I've always loved a good bass line in music. Around 2010, I was playing bass guitar in a metal band. And I did that for about a year. And we did a lot of like 3 shows every weekend, partied all the time.
That's busy for a metal band in 2010, man.
It was wild. Good. I mean, we were young guys. I was like 21 at the time. So I sat down with them at this house party we were at, and I was like, all right, guys, I'm going to give this 1 year. And if we're not like touring the regional area by the end of that, I'm going to find something else to do.
Yeah.
And so a year came and went, nothing changed. We were all still crashing at the party house. And I was like, I got to go. I got to do something else with my life.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine at the time was doing his own like hip hop project.
Okay.
And he was using Reason.
Oh, I love Reason.
Yeah, I got the...
Oh, I didn't even see that. That's fucking awesome. Bro, I learned on Reason 3.0.
Oh, man, that's even... I started on 4, so...
Yeah, dude, I cut my teeth back in the... You couldn't change the tempo in 3.
No way. Was it just locked at 120?
It was... Well, no, it was locked at whatever you set it at. But like you couldn't
automate it.
You couldn't automate it in the which I thought was, I was a little punk rock kid back then. So sometimes I liked a little change.
Yeah, why can't we go fast here?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to make 2 different projects and.
Exactly. No, dude. Well, Reason, like you had to do everything so hard. Not to sidetrack you too much, but.
No, I'll talk about Reason all day.
Dude, I love Reason. I still use Reason. I still have Reason 5.
5.
Yeah, that's what
I'll never change.
I never upgraded, and then they went to like a subscription model.
Yep, exactly.
Which I fucking hate. I got mad at that. I was like, fuck that.
No, I'm good. 5 has everything built into it. I'm straight.
Dude, Thor and Maelstrom, man, that's all I really need.
Yeah.
But I honestly had a learning curve moving from Reason to Ableton because it was just so fucking easy. Like everything in Ableton was so easy. You just drag and drop it. And then, but Reason, like you had a menu for everything, you know?
Yep.
You had to like look at the device.
Am I on?
Oh, did it die? Oh.
I can't hear me. Am I still in the mix?
Yeah, you're still coming through.
Oh, okay, that's fine then.
Oh.
No, that's fine.
Oh, it fell onto my computer. Hold on.
Cut that.
No, I figured it out. It turned the track off.
Oh no. Oh, there it is.
Shit. It's okay, we can fix that in post. Yeah, that's my job. I know, I'll fix it. I'll fix it in post. Sorry.
Perfect, I'm not worried about it.
I should probably find a place for that. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, man. So my buddy who's doing this hip hop project showed me Reason and was like, you should try this out because I think you could get more into it than I have time to. And I'm like, yeah, I'll make your beats, sure.
Yeah.
So that was my entry point into like electronic music.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I didn't know anything. I mean, I was listening to like Combi Christ and Daft Punk and like.
Oh man, I was like an MSI kid. I had all these like weird like local bands that I liked, and like Tubring and like Foxy Shazam. They became pretty big now, but they were like a weird local band when I liked them.
Oh yeah, man. I was into the more like Throw the Fight back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, I had lots of friends that were in that vein.
Yeah, that was a thing. They were awesome. But yeah, so that was me getting into electronic music, and right away my tracks were already going in a direction that was like bass heavy oriented and like a slowed down halftime kind of beat.
Okay.
And then that was before I even heard the word dubstep.
Oh, man.
So when I was showed dubstep for the first time, it just blew my mind. I mean, we all had that experience.
Yep, same. That happened to me. It was like 2008.
Yep.
That was right around there is when I really got introduced into it. I remember, man, it was Cookie Monster.
UKF.
UKF, there's Flux, but I remember there was...
Mount Eden.
Mount Eden was probably the first one, honestly. That was probably what I was
first.
What I was first exposed to. And then, Flux Pavilion, he had that, like, Cracks.
But yeah,
something like that.
That was me, my entry point. But then I had these friends who were like these hardcore drum and bass DJs, right? Old heads, just mix on vinyl.
Yeah.
And like these guys were just like, pfft. But anyway, he gave me a list of like all these underground artists and YouTube channels I should check out. And Get Darker was on that list.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I remember the day I watched my first Get Darker stream. It fucking changed the game for me. Completely.
Yeah, man, you saw where you belonged.
I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the vibe. So then started going that way, and my music production started to play shows locally, and then like going to different venues and realizing like, oh, all these different speaker configurations sound really different. Like, this is interesting.
Some of them are really bad. Shout out to Barfly.
Right.
I mean, I was the sound tech back then. I know how bad it is.
They would pull anybody in that room to sound tech, like, no offense.
Yeah, bro.
They pulled me off the kitchen line at Maruso to come fix a microphone problem one night.
Yeah, sounds about right. Thanks, Barfly.
But yeah, it was actually at Skyway that I had my first big revelation, and it was in Studio B. When the Article Records Jay Kenzo tour came through.
Okay,
and I think I wrote
that.
the date down. It was November. It's in my notes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I won't give you any help.
What was it, like 2010 or something?
I think it was 11, but maybe 10. I don't know. Time was kind of weird for me back then.
No, 2014.
What?
I found it.
It was that fucking... I thought it was older.
Nope. 2014. So it was a wild night. It was kind of personal, but we can get into it.
Yeah, hey, I'd love to, man.
I had bought the tickets as soon as I heard about it, right?
Sure. You knew.
I knew. I was like, I gotta be there. Yeah. I had never been in that room before. It might have even been my first time going upstairs at Skyway.
Sure.
I wasn't that integrated into the scene at that point.
Right.
But that day, my girlfriend of 3 years who I was living with broke up with me.
Shit.
And I was...
That the show day?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I gotta move out. I gotta find somewhere to go. And so I packed up my stuff, and one of my old high school buddies had a spot I could crash at. And so I was like, hey, I got this extra ticket to go to this weird dubstep show tonight. Like, you should come check it out. And we get there, and they have the regular Studio B system, but they also added the plywood, like, void 1850 bins. Remember Adams?
From Darren. Yeah, Darren and Adam. They're so good friends of mine. Yeah.
The subroom system.
Yeah, the Hitman Sound, I think, is what they were called. Or they are called. I don't know. They're still around doing stuff.
Aren't they in, like, Vegas now?
Colorado. It was at Denver.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, like, that was my moment.
Those
like,
fucking subs are so awesome.
Oh my god, dude.
That would have been an amazing show to hear on that stuff. Whew.
And they were playing stuff like Mud from Lofa and like the old Sleeper stuff.
Ooh,
and
the
like,
Real Rumble.
Oh my god.
Don't worry. It's just...
It's just an old adapter.
Oh, right on.
The audience doesn't know.
But yeah, that night was like a turning point in my life already because I had to move out and find somewhere to go.
Yeah, like, well, fuck
But
it.
then,
might as well start a new career.
yeah, it blew me away. Like literally, it was such an experience, and I was like, I came here feeling the worst I've felt in my life in a long time.
Yeah, I bet,
and I
man.
just had the most incredible experience with this music and those fucking boxes. Like, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, okay,
And
okay.
So 2014 was what.
Yeah,
kinda
you're like, all
what
right, I gotta save some money. I gotta buy some speakers. I gotta put some speakers together.
I got a lot to learn, but I'm gonna figure this out. And I dove in and just learned about the culture, about its history, about the physics behind like subwoofers and cabinets, and
It is crazy. I mean,
it's nuts. It's such a rabbit hole. And again, I don't claim to be an expert or anything. Like,
Sure.
I'm a hobbyist. I'm an enthusiast. Another guy built my boxes. I'll never deny that. Shout out Kurt.
Ooh, oh yeah. Oh wait,
dude.
Kurt did it? That was Kurt? Oh, you bought Kurt's shit?
Well, he built it for me.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's what I mean. Then Kurt,
Yeah, but
Kurt
I've been to his warehouse several times.
for sure, man.
And the turbo sound drivers that we use in our high horns came from him.
Oh, okay.
They came out of those old TMS 3 cabinets.
Yeah, okay. I didn't realize it was him.
Oh yeah, he's the guy. He's the plug.
Yeah, I like Kurt. Shout out Kurt.
Totally.
We love you, Kurt. Oh, that's awesome, man. So 2014, you get inspired. Now, how you kind of explained a little bit how you got the boxes. Now, kind of, how did you get like started? Like, how do you even find bookings for that? Like, what do you do? Like,
It was hard. It was hard because at first we just had a couple dual 15 JBL boxes I got in an auction. And these old full range tops, the Sonic like 212 with the horn.
Sure.
That I bought used out the back of Metro Sound.
Oh yeah, I remember
which has
Metro
been another
Sound.
big place for us.
Yeah, I remember Metro Sound. I don't
They
think
do
they're
all
around
the
anymore.
repairs.
Are they? No, they're around. They're still around, right?
I'm keeping them in business. I keep bringing them my 18s when I blow them.
Oh, and I rented a bunch of like stuff from them back in the day. They were really great for that. They're a great resource. So was
I've learned a
EMI.
lot from those guys, and I bought some used stuff from those guys personally, and like not through the store.
Yeah. They're nice guys too.
Totally. But yeah, so at first what I was doing was volunteering myself at the Earth Rhythms festivals
Okay.
out in northwestern Minnesota. Up
Yeah,
in
I remember
Fargo.
those.
Yep. And we did those for like 3 years in a row. And the first time it was just the dual cabinets I had just bought, and I brought them along. I was like, hey, we can use these somewhere. And the guy who was running was like, take those to the Deep Forest stage. You're the stage manager now.
Good luck.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Yeah, we had a great time.
I am a stage manager. You're right.
Yes, sir. But yeah, then we did the festival, and then we invested in more gear, built better stuff.
Hell yeah.
Came back the next year.
That's the dream.
Well, that's where we grew up.
Yeah.
Was at the Earth Rhythms
you cut
Festival.
your teeth
Yeah.
and
because of that, we have a lot of friends out in Fargo. We have a really good fan base in the Fargo area.
Hell yeah.
A lot of
That's
solid
awesome.
people out there.
Well, when we start throwing shows again and we make it out to Fargo, you'll definitely be on our list.
Oh, they come out of the woodwork as soon as they see it's heading a bin.
Yeah.
I'm not
that's
even
awesome.
kidding, dude. It blows me away every time.
Well, we're not really doing many shows at the moment like ourselves. Honestly, I hate being a promoter. I don't like it. It's a lot. It sucks.
I can't do it. I
It
don't even
sucks.
try.
I've tried a handful of times, and it's fun at times, but it's very stressful. Like, I'll promote Ghost Eater. I will do Ghost Eater shows for sure. Those will all be curated and stuff, and of course, I'll do those. But man, like, oh man, I see like Excision and stuff doing Lost Lands, and I remember doing like smaller festivals, and just the amount of shit that you gotta deal with is astronomical, man. I don't even
making sure the people are where they need to be,
dude.
Just that alone.
If I get as big as Excision, like, I don't think I would ever do a Lost Lands or even try.
Well, I'm sure it's just a staff that manages it.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
But
maybe I shouldn't.
it takes a village, or
Yeah.
at least.
I'll maybe. I guess I shouldn't say never, right?
Yeah,
Or
don't
whatever.
limit yourself.
Yeah, I don't limit myself. I do dream of having like such a big show that even selling it out, like, I still can't make the money back. I think that'd be cool. I think that would be a cool record. Like, I just had so much production. I sold out a stadium, full price, everything, reasonable prices, but we still couldn't cover all the production that I bought. That'd be awesome. I probably could only do it one or two
That'd be
times.
insane. Yeah.
But I don't know. If I ever get to like Prince levels, which could happen, that's what I'll do. I'll throw it at the U.S. Bank. We'll get you. I don't know what we'll have you do at that stage, but you'll be there to help for sure. We can.
Well, so the thing about you promoting Ghost Eater, though, is you're curating it. Like you
Right.
said, it's your event all the way through.
Right.
You're not relying on anybody else. I mean, you've got people who help you, but it's your vision.
Right. Oh
And
yeah.
that's kind of the lesson I had to learn with what I do. I couldn't keep trying to include what I do in the mainstream music industry
Oh yeah.
because it really doesn't have a place there.
Yeah. It's
I
kind of meant to be outside of it.
Exactly. At its roots, it's a separate thing altogether. And I had to realize that the two they're never going to completely mesh. It's
Yeah.
never going to work.
I mean, that's realistic though. Like, I know I joke about being mainstream. Like, I would do the Super Bowl.
Fuck yeah.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be I'd play some D&B for sure. D&B at the Super Bowl. That'd be sick. We can make it work. But
Sean
like,
who at a Twins game.
yeah, like I'm determined to try and get that level, but I do understand that it's an uphill battle, like, from like even more than usual.
Well, yeah, but why not set that lofty goal so you
Yeah.
always have something to keep working towards?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, if you set your goals any lower, then you get to them and you realize, man, that wasn't shit.
Right. I mean,
And then what do you do?
yeah, that's true. I mean, I did think, like, what is the biggest I could do? And that would be, like, selling out the U.S. Bank. I can't really imagine much bigger than that. I mean, that would be like Rammstein. Like, they didn't even do that, But I add on to it, like, if I got to that level, I wouldn't even want to make any money. I would want to see how much production I can put inside a stadium, just to see, like, put EDC, but like in one place. I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
That's wild.
I just like technology. I think that it would be interesting. Again, I probably could only do that like one or two times. But if I got to that level, I would be all right. I need to take a couple years off.
Right.
I need to
That
take
is
a
a
break.
cool concept, though. Like, how far can we go with this? Like,
Yeah.
have the drones and everything.
Oh, dude. Oh, man.
yes.
You can really use the space, and you could have some fire in there, some pyro, I mean, Rammstein was in there. So I'm sure we could figure it out.
Fucking anti-gravity.
Yeah, by then, who knows?
Who knows?
You never know. I would like
Tupac's
to incorporate
hologram.
drones, though. That would be because we can't really do traditional fireworks like in the closed space like that.
Yeah.
But you could do a fleet of drones,
Right.
you know, and it would like take the whole show to launch them, but that's all you would need. Like at the end, you could be like, whoa, there's 1 million drones in the sky. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that stuff is crazy. That even just like a regular lighting rig at a regular show is just way over my head.
I was talking about this earlier. Like I am a lighting guy. Like I've always been a gearhead, and I cut my teeth actually as a audio engineer. I was a live sound engineer, and then I was just in general production. So when I tell you I have hauled a speaker, boy, have I hauled a speaker in my fucking life. And I gotta say, fuck that, man. I'm always gonna rent out my sound. I never wanna be a sound guy. You guys fucking do that. Everything takes the most power. Everything is fucking heavy. Everything. Very heavy. The speakers, the power amps, the cables. The cables are heavy.
God, the cables.
They're all so heavy. You don't even think about it.
So I have this whole thing about like references to Babylon in reggae music, right?
Yeah, okay.
And Babylon is pretty much synonymous with whatever's quickest and easiest and cheapest is usually a product of Babylon.
Okay.
So we're doing everything to the maximum difficulty for Ja.
Yes, exactly.
It's got to be inconvenient. It's got to be a pain in your back.
You work for it. You really work for it. You have no question.
The payoff is the experience.
That's true. I'll always appreciate it. Like, don't get me wrong.
I wouldn't trade that for anything.
I respect my sound guys. I respect my Sparkies. I love you guys. I would need you. I need you. And I'm so thankful that you're willing to do that work, because I'm not. I mean, I'm a producer myself, so I love the technology of it, especially when you get to the bigger, almost industrial scales that the upper end of the industry kind of hangs out at.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that tech is very interesting.
Just the whole headspace of, like, knowing that you're producing sounds to be reproduced on that scale, brings like a whole new level into your production game.
It's true. I don't cut out the lower frequencies like I used to. They used to be like, oh, get rid of all that junk. But it's like, well, these days you can produce like your system goes down to like 40?
Ours, the fundamental of the 18s in our subs is 30 hertz.
Holy shit.
But the box itself is more around 40, 45. Because it's from like
low. I mean,
it's from like the 1970s or something. So it was primarily designed for like bass guitar.
Yeah.
And the lowest a bass guitar can go is 30 on a 5-string.
Sure.
So, but what happens when you get all 6 of the boxes together in a row? They can do 30.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It just comes out like the ports.
Yeah.
And instead of the horn.
Well,
it just comes out as air pressure.
From what I understand, like subs, like you get, like you're trying to maximize the amount of time that those waveforms are traveling through the box. Is that what I understand?
Well, it's and again, I'm no expert.
Well, in your experience.
But so wavelength is a measurable distance, right?
Yeah.
And I think 30 hertz, and I might be way off, but I think it's something like between 7 and 9 feet.
Yeah, well,
so
it's
to
really
reproduce that frequency, you need at least that much cubic volume.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's why you usually need a bunch of boxes, or big fucking boxes, like the Hennessy Battle Axe.
Yeah, there's just so much, because they fold it, right, and they direct the sound, so then you create more distance for the sound to go.
For the wavelength to load into the
Yeah.
cabinet.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
wild.
man, that's crazy. Because if you think about it, that whole cycle, you need to have the whole cycle in the speaker
Yep.
to hear it.
From the front of the cone to the mouth of the box.
Yeah,
It's wild.
that's crazy. So there's at least like 6 feet in there, roughly. Man,
And the people who can like design those systems and figure that out.
Well, I know. I'm pretty sure Darren didn't design it. He bought schematics.
No, those
Yeah.
are the ones from the subroom.
Yeah.
Those are called an 1850, and the plan is online. There's actually a shit ton of resources on the internet for speaker box plans from like the past 40 years or so.
That's cool.
So if a box has been around long enough, you can reproduce it without like getting sued or whatever.
Yeah. So
It's the newer like name brand clones that are a problem.
oh, they're more proprietary.
Yeah. Like you'll never find what the inside of a Void really looks like.
Yeah.
You'll find knockoffs, but
I've always wondered that. So that kind of brings me to my next question. Like, in terms of your career, like in the upper end, like, would you ever want to try and like prototype new boxes and stuff, or would you just to even tweak it, or are you really more interested in just kind of fine tuning the designs that exist?
Yeah, I don't really have aspiration to like. So the thing is, with sound technology, not a lot has changed since the 70s. The biggest differences now is just sheer wattage.
Oh, okay.
So, like when the W bin was designed, the original 18 for it was a 300 watt.
Oh, okay.
I'm using 600. Quad City Collective in Iowa, theirs are 1,000 each.
Oh, their drivers are 1,000 apiece?
They're using Electro Voice.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same cabinet.
I think PK Audio has high wattage too, because
that's their whole thing, 50,000 watts.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's their whole thing.
That's their whole thing.
You can push it high.
So, but the inverse of that is you can build a gigantic box design from like the 1940s, put a 10-inch sub in it that's like 100 watts and still hit 20 hertz.
Oh, wow.
Because you're giving it a big, huge box.
Oh, okay.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah, because I wonder, I mean, how big does the driver even need to be to produce that low? Like, how can you, 10-inch seems pretty low. Like,
you can start
small.
Subwoofers at like 8 to 10 inches, I
Really?
think. Again, I'm not an expert.
No, I don't think so. I think you're right, though. I think you're right. I mean, I know.
Like car subs.
Yeah, those are probably 10 to 8.
And car audios, that's a whole different animal, too, that I don't fully understand.
Yeah, I've never really understood
I
it.
really like latched on to the JBL thing, and I'm really into like those vintage designs.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess it works, right? I mean, how it's been going since the 50s.
Straight up, like a lot of the gear I have is from the 80s, and like the original designs are from the 70s or further back. Like those high horns we use, those are definitely like 60s at least.
That's vintage, though.
It's a lot of that's kind of my thing.
You're getting like, literal vintage sound, huh?
So
is that like warmer? Because like older stuff is always warmer because of their tendency to use analog, right?
I do have a full analog signal. Yeah. I don't trust digital shit.
Oh, really? It's fully on. You have it really? So you have analog like splitter?
I don't have any DSP.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. See, that's like the opposite. Like Darren, and they have like.
Oh, he had some nice shit. I saw his rack.
Dude,
they're the
like
new crowns with the built-in compression.
Yeah, they have compression, and they can EQ it from their phone, so they can stand in front of it. Oh, that's so cool.
It's cool. Yeah. I don't deny that.
But you can accomplish the same thing with a little bit of work. Drag an EQ. You can get an EQ out there. And one time I definitely did EQ a PA system behind it. Of course, it was at Barfly.
Right.
It sucks,
Yeah.
but it can be done, man.
If you know the system well
Oh
enough.
god. Well, I was boosting signal to try and find a cut. You have to boost
God.
it and then go walk out like 5 feet.
Oh, yep, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. Better cut that. It sucks.
Yeah, so back a little further back, when I was first getting the 18s and my first pair of W's, I was like, I remember JBL having a badass reputation, you know, like
Sure.
when I was a kid.
Well, they were really into bass stuff, right?
Right.
Weren't they,
So let
like-
me look into this.
Yeah.
And so I started reading about like the JBL company, the professional line, all the innovations they did. And then the history of like the dude James Lansing himself is like actually a really tragic story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's wild. And so when I learned all of that, I was like, I'm going to be a JBL guy.
Yeah, okay.
And so I started collecting the Alltech Lansing horns. And
So you're like, all right, so I'm gonna power my boxes with JBL.
yeah,
You're gonna find
JBL
some
and Crown.
Yeah.
Like that's the move.
Well, man, you can't
To like pay homage to
you
that.
can't go wrong with Crown, anyways. I mean, a lot of
Right.
people, pretty much everyone I know had Crown. When I worked like at Epic, I'm pretty sure they had all Crown. Like they had those 3,000 watts in theirs. They had those really nice ones. It was Rob Kruger.
And in today's market, Crown and JBL are now owned by the same company.
Oh, nice.
So they do all their product testing integrated.
Oh, so that'd be actually, I think, something that would boost you, honestly. Like,
Right.
you know your compatibility is going to be there.
Exactly.
Oh, that's nice.
Like they're designed for each other. They test the Crown amps on the JBL woofers and vice versa.
Yeah, okay. So, kind of tell me a little bit about, moving along. You designed these systems, you kind of put it together, did some Earth Rhythms stuff. Now, I remember, didn't you do I'm blanking on the name. It was like a sound system culture party, though.
Word Sound Power.
Yes, I knew there was sound and power in the name.
Dude.
So, I mean, can you kind of explain how that all came about?
I would love to talk about that.
Yeah.
That was one of the best experiences of my life. I think I cried 3 times.
I mean, let's put it
during that day.
I gotta say, that's got to be, like, as a sound system culture guy,
Yep.
being asked to do that had to be, like, winning
Literally,
a Grammy
like,
almost.
watching my dreams come true.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah. So, how did it happen? I mean, what happened?
So, I do most of my local events with Culminate.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we did the Buka show at 11 Wells. And Chef was there. That was the first time I met him and the first time he ever saw our sound system, because I believe he manages Buka stateside.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he came out to the event and checked it out and was like, I had no idea Minneapolis had a traditional sound system. And I was like, yeah, that's what I aim to be. Like, let's talk. And he told me he was already cooking Word Sound Power.
Oh, okay.
And he started to tell me about the plan, and we talked about it for, I think it was at least a year before it happened, and I was just so excited.
Yeah. Oh, man.
About the prospect. So I put him on to Headway Hi-Fi from Milwaukee. And he brought Demdea and Pomegranate from Denver. And then they did Champion Sound, our local Void Rig.
Yeah. We're friends with the Champion Sound.
Yeah, Mark's a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Love Mark. Shout out to Mark.
He is kind of a bridge between my corner of sound system culture and then the events industry, which he's still very much involved with. But I know he has the same passion for the culture that I do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's definitely no love lost between the Void like name brand main stage rig and the little guys. When I was raising money for some repairs that we needed, he was one of my top donors.
Oh, that's so cool. That's fucking community, man.
Exactly. It's
Shout
all
out,
about
shout out to
community.
Mark. We're gonna get him on this podcast too eventually.
Excellent.
We're all just so busy, you know.
Yeah. Well, and the history of Void itself, Rog Mogal, I might be saying his name wrong, but he was a UK drum and bass DJ back in the day who kind of had the same path, like played events, got interested in speakers, and fell down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And
all those lasers.
all those online resources I told you about, he was involved in the creation of like most of those.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's been a huge resource for the DIY community and providing box plans.
You gotta hand it to Voids. They sound great.
And now he does Void, and he's like top of the food chain. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, there's definitely still place for like JBL, like you said, traditional sound system. It may be a little niche.
Oh yeah, it's an experience all itself. That's the whole thing.
We'll definitely have to get you on some events here sometime. Once we begin doing them again.
My calendar's wide open because I've got just other priorities in my life right now, and that's fine.
Well, you're a father too, right? And I mean, you got a family. That's pretty.
That definitely is life changing.
It can take some time, I hear. I'm not human myself. I don't have any spawn, but I hear it's rewarding.
It's a trip.
No, in terms of like doing a event like the Word Power Sound, I mean, that's kind of, that was like one-off, right? Or was that?
It was, unfortunately, really underattended.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even in town.
It was kind of crappy weather that day, and I think people just didn't really know what to expect.
Sure, yeah.
Because we've never done an event like that before.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it was really well documented. Like there were journalists, there were photographers.
Yeah.
I saw some really great articles about it after the fact.
I think I read one or two of them at least. Yeah.
It was a beautiful time for everyone who was there, but unfortunately it tanked hard financially.
Yeah, that can happen.
That's the risk.
Yeah. I took that risk when I did the first Ghost Eater experience. I've only thrown one show, and I've been on a handful of my friends' shows, but like I did my own that one time just to make the project exist, because it's kind of hard to explain what this is, so I had to show people,
Yeah.
And I definitely lost a little bit of money on that one.
Yeah, it's a reality check for sure.
Well, how do we get a hold of you? Like your company is Head in a Bin. Now it sounds like you're available.
We're pretty active on Instagram.
Okay.
Mostly.
Okay. Is it just Head in a Bin?
Head.in-a-bin.
Nice. Oh yeah. Okay. That's nice. So we can hit you up on there if we need you.
Absolutely.
Get some sound system going. I mean, honestly, we definitely. There's definitely scenarios where that would be honestly preferable, I think, to a Void system or a cheaper system that you can get at EMI.
Yeah, I mean, it has its specific application, and when it's the right time and the right place, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, I bet.
And that's how I've learned to, let stuff happen. I'm not chasing events. I'm not advertising, per se.
Well, yeah.
I just let it come naturally, and those are always the best experiences.
Yeah, well, we hit you up. We were looking for people. We thought, hey, man, perfect. The sound system culture guy. Teach me all about it.
And it's crazy how far this is all spreading throughout America. I mean, it's been a subculture in America since the 70s, starting in, New York City.
Oh, yeah.
From the Jamaican immigrants.
I read about the Grateful Dead they
Oh, the Wall of Sound.
yeah, like the Wall of Sound I
Yeah.
read about, because that was one of the first like pioneered concert PAs, right? Like it didn't really exist.
Yeah,
Back
nobody
then.
had ever tried anything
Yeah.
at that scale before.
Right, and like
And
that many
I think the unique
speakers.
thing about it, other than its size, was that each band member had a dedicated portion
Yeah.
of the system.
I know, and like, oh, it's not even like what I found crazy. It's not like perpendicular or parallel. I mean, like it's almost modular. Like
Yeah.
each section is its own thing,
Yeah.
and then they work to bridge that all together. Crazy. Where now we have like line arrays that we
Right.
can just like hoist,
Yeah.
and they got their own.
Just plug it all into
Plug
the
it all
magic
in.
mixing
You
console.
don't have those benefits though. Now you were saying that you're analog. I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So you're saying now they have. So just to kind of give a background, how I understand it. Again, I'm not a sound guy per se anymore, but you get an audio signal. You got a splitter, right? To split up the frequencies.
It's called a crossover.
Crossover, right? Yep.
Yep.
See, haven't been one for a while. You get a crossover, so you set the different signals to the subs and the highs and the mids, right?
Yep, basically,
And
yeah.
do you have like and you have it? I'm guessing like an EQ, or do you?
Sort of built into the mixer. So
Yeah.
I'll give you our signal path.
Okay.
So from the DJM, the DJ mixer,
Yep.
I take the XLR into my channel 1 and 2, and I have it's like a DM12, I think, a Midas little 12-channel mixer.
Sure.
And Midas is famous for their preamp circuits,
Yeah.
and it's a world of difference from anything else I ever used.
Oh, when I was in live sound, pretty much every mixer we used was a Midas of some sort.
It blew me away the first time I heard it. So from the Midas, it goes to an Aphex 2 Dominator, which is an input limiter,
Okay.
and
No,
that
so you
takes
don't-
care of any redlining.
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I don't want. Well, redlining in this case would be physical, actual distortion, which would be literal destruction of your shit.
Exactly. If I let that signal come through hot, it's going to destroy my speakers,
Yeah.
which is a hard lesson a lot of us beginners had to learn.
Ooh, yeah. We're spoiled over in the digital world. You can't fucking do that in Ableton.
No.
You can send like plus 64 decibel in there, and it still won't. I mean, I don't think it's good. but,
It'll
but
compress.
It won't destroy anything.
Right. So yeah, I got to have that limiter for the compression factor. And then from there, now I have a safe signal that goes to my crossover.
Oh, okay.
And so the system is divided up 5 ways actually.
Oh,
So-
really? Like signal wise?
Yep. So the smaller Altec 511s at the top are the highest,
Sure.
obviously, and then it just goes down from there. So they're crossed over for just the super high frequencies like hi-hats.
So does your full stack have 5 speakers in it then? Right, it has like 2 mids. Or I'm
So
just
yeah, I'll pull it up.
yeah, it's been a little bit. I've definitely seen and heard the rig before, but it's been a long time.
Jamie, can you pull that up?
Yeah. Someday we'll have that.
So there's a picture, if that's good.
Hold on. Hey,
How's that look?
yeah, there you go. Okay.
So the smaller horns on top are the highest.
Okay.
The next larger ones are still a high pass signal, but it contains a
I
little
see.
bit more.
I see. Okay.
And then the square boxes that we painted, those have a 10-inch JBL. I think it's 300 watts. That's the mid.
Yeah.
The boxes below that are the PV FH1, loaded with a 15-inch JBL, 600 watts, and that's the mid bass, like kick drum.
Yeah.
And then the W
100
bins are 70 hertz and below.
Yeah. Ooh. That sounds nice.
It is
Wow,
nice.
that's gotta come across clean then.
Yeah,
Man.
it took a lot of learning and a lot of events just dialing it in, but we've
Yeah, I
got it
bet.
pretty dialed.
I used to always just do 3 zones, you know. I don't remember what we used to cut them anymore, but you know, whatever. I always was working with like bigger guys though, so I think we were all EV, we were all Electro Voice, because Rob, it's like Gemini Productions, I think is what it's called, but he's the guy I think he actually owns all the EVs in Skyway,
Okay.
and he owns the EVs that used to be in Epic, back in the day. You know, they were dual 18 EVs.
Yep.
They really need to be tuned in the loft. They're
Yeah.
they're
So that box, I've looked it up because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
That box is tuned to 45 hertz.
Oh, see,
But-
I would not have known that.
The 18 in there, those are the 1,000 watt EV18 that Quad City has in their W bins.
Yeah,
Same
ooh,
driver.
love those. They
But
sound great.
that's a live sound box.
Yeah. Oh,
That's for
absolutely.
rock bands.
Absolutely, Rob
It's not for
was
dubstep.
Rob was definitely. Well, it can be if it was set up properly.
If you take all of them and mash them together and
Yeah.
dial it,
They had some.
they have had some good events up there.
They had some good events. They did have some phasing issues. They did have, like, Rob had to come in and rephase. I don't even know how he does it. I don't know how you rephase a fucking sub.
It's it really comes down to the wiring. Just
Yeah.
the positive and the negative get swapped.
Oh, okay.
I have an embarrassing story about that actually.
Yeah, perfect. You canceled
Word
out some
Sound
stuff.
Power,
Okay.
like our biggest dream come true event.
we were just talking about how amazing it was.
It was. It was.
It was
but
amazing.
One of my sub channels, the jack was plugged in upside down, so 3 of my subs were phase flipped,
Fuck.
and all day long I couldn't figure it out.
You're like, what? It's like,
It
you're like
was
half power.
it was banging up close,
Yeah.
but as soon as you backed away like 30 feet, it was gone.
You know, they do that
It
at
was so
like
embarrassing.
they do that at like stadiums on purpose.
Yeah,
So
to keep the
they-
sound from bleeding.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I did it by accident, and it sucked.
Yeah, at the worst time too. That's always how it is. Ghost
But
Eater has had
It was
some.
still a great day, and I'll never make that mistake again.
Yeah. Oh man, well production then. It's really trial by fire by definition.
Yo,
There's really not much you can do otherwise. I mean, the
Right.
first Ghost Eater show, I was definitely in over my head. I won't lie.
right? Like, we didn't go to school for this shit.
Yeah. Well, this is like a homemade fucking mask of LEDs. Like,
I've watched your journey.
I have some unique problems, like, over time, you know,
I can't imagine.
designing it, like, trying to Google the problems, and that's like, if it is not on the Matrix forum, it doesn't exist.
I mean, using all this old equipment, these old amplifiers, and troubleshooting problems sometimes just made me feel like I was a gorilla.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
You're like, oh, where am I going to find a capacitor?
monkey brain, can't figure it out. Hit it.
Yeah. Where's my hammer?
I've learned a lot.
Hey, that's how you do it, though. You do it, you fail, you learn some lessons, you do it again.
You love it
fail,
enough to keep going.
but in different ways, you know, and eventually
Always.
you'll succeed. I mean, hey, everything we've done has been DIY, as you can imagine. And we've made it pretty far. I mean, the first time we tried this podcast, oh man, I think I've mentioned it on every podcast we've done now, but we did everything wrong pretty much. We had 2 different cameras. One didn't really work. We recorded one camera twice on accident. I did figure out that was my mistake, by the way, B. That was 100% my fault.
It's just nodding in agreement.
Yeah, I set it up wrong.
Shit happen.
And we got the audio. Like the first time I did the audio, I just did one channel, and I had this M Audio 192 Air, the 192 4 Air, whatever, piece of shit. Hate it. if you're out there right now and you're thinking, should I ever buy this M Audio music interface? Don't fucking do it. Don't do it. You regret
Save
it.
your money.
You'll fucking regret it. But anyway, so I couldn't get 2 channels to work simultaneously. So I thought, we'll just, put in 1 channel and hope for the fucking best, you know? And every time I spoke, you couldn't even, it was like, you couldn't even hear it. It was an audible noise. And then our first guest, Rainbow, couldn't hear them. You couldn't hear them at all. Couldn't hear what they were saying. They were just completely, so, it didn't work. It didn't work at all.
But you learned a lot.
We learned a lot. We got some lights now. You're properly lighted, looking good. You know, gotta get those, angles. And we have proper mics. That's another thing. We didn't have a proper microphone. I had 1 condenser mic at the time.
Oh, God.
And I thought, we would use the condenser mic that's here. But it's broken. And so then, I have this, American DJ, I don't know, the Shure 57 knockoff. We'll use this. Didn't work at all.
Get the Guitar Hero USB mic.
Yeah, right? You couldn't hear my guests at all, but my mic was picking them up. So you could hear a faint monster in the background answering questions. So, trial by fire. It's kind of how we do it around here, you know.
And then you just get better at dealing with the unexpected.
Yeah,
as a whole.
So
I like to think that I'm able to stay pretty level-headed when things go sideways at events.
What do you think is your most, what's the closest you got to just blowing a fuse, literally in your head?
Oh, in my head? I was about to say, we've blown tons of fuses.
I mean, yeah, in your head. There's gotta be one. There's gotta be at least one. If it's traumatizing, we don't have to talk about it.
No, I'm trying to remember a specific example. There's been plenty.
Sure.
Well, the first time that I brought those 2 Dual 15 JBLs to Earth Rhythms, I think it was 2016. And that was my first year doing anything. I had no idea what I was doing. I had 1 amplifier that I bought with them in the auction. I didn't even know if it was the amplifier that they went with.
You're like, hey, you turn it in.
This does the thing. Those probably do the thing.
You put the signal in here, right?
Let's plug stuff in. Yeah, I blew one of them right away.
Oh, like the cone?
So we ran most of the weekend just off 1 box, but it was like clipping the whole time. And it just...
You're like, I don't know what to do.
I was just literally helpless. I just had to surrender.
Yeah, well...
It'll change you as a person.
Yeah, dude, I know, right? You learn, and you feel those pressures, and you definitely get molded by it.
Yeah, there was the Buka show that I mentioned that Chef met us at. I actually was working that day, so I didn't get there until halfway through the opener set.
Shit.
And so I walk in. We had set it up earlier in the day, but we didn't sound check because the DJ equipment wasn't there.
Classic, man.
Yeah.
Classic.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me started.
Honestly,
so I get there halfway through the first act, and only the subs are working. And so they've got the booth monitor turned around.
Oh, where was this? This is at Studio B, right?
No, this was at 11 Wells.
Oh, okay.
So it was all DIY.
It's all DIY, yeah. So it reminded me of some events.
Oh, sure. We've had to turn that booth monitor around in the Barfly front room.
Yeah. It's a speaker, right?
Right.
All right, so you had only subs. You just so to set the stage, you set this thing up earlier in the day.
Right.
You had to go to work. You come back, you're like, man, I hope everyone turned it on right or whatever.
My crew is there, and bless their hearts, they're just looking at me like,
I
We
thought
don't know how to do this part.
I turned it on.
Yeah, I did what you said. But yeah, I don't even remember what the problem was. I just like double checked everything, turned it off, turned it on.
Yeah.
And it was fine for the rest of the night.
You could hear the highs that came through.
One time I had to run a 30 amp twist lock extension cable like 100 feet. And I wasn't getting any power through it from the generator. And at first, I thought it was my amp. I turned my amp on and nothing happened. And I was just like,
I swear, we're trained to think it's the least expensive thing first, but we always assume it's the most expensive.
this is it. We have no subs. We have no event. Everybody go home. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It turned out to just be a loose wire in the extension cord.
Yeah.
Oh
man, I tell everyone I work with, I'm like, did you replace the cable?
Yep.
Did you touch the cable and put a new cable on there? That's always the first thing you want to do. Other than turning it off and turning it back on. Yeah. But in this case, that doesn't really apply.
It's always the goddamn cables.
Oh man, my friend recently, I'm still mad about this. It's not even my equipment, but I'm still mad about it. I had a friend that killed her CDJ by ripping the power cable out of it while it was booting up.
Oh no.
Fried the firmware. So now it's got to go like EMI or something. I'm telling you, man. And they were like, oh, it's not working. And I was like, well, what was going on? You know, they were like in my studio before. So I was like, I know they work. They are, touring equipment. They can survive a 10-minute drive in my car, in their case, right? And they're like, oh, well, we turned it on, and it kind of turned on, but then not all the lights came on. So we were like, well, that's not good. so then we thought it was the power. So we unplugged the power.
Oh no!
And now it won't turn back on. And I'm like, what the are you? I thought you were technicians. How do you not fucking know this? It's a computer. You don't. It's a special computer that does one thing very well. And you fucking interrupted its boot sequence. And, again, not even my equipment, but I'm mad about it, because they were sound techs. They were sound techs! Come on, man.
Terrible.
Like, you don't even do that to, like, power amps.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, like, maybe they didn't have a EDM background, or...
yeah. I don't even know these people. I can't hate on them too much.
That is a very frustrating thing to happen, though.
Yeah, man. I was like, and now
it's the most expensive thing up here.
Really? Yeah. I mean, come on, man. It's. Anyway, I digress. I just needed to vent a little bit about it to someone who understands. Sure. You know what I mean?
The anxiety that comes with working events in any capacity, security, doors, doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's stressed out.
Yeah, dude. Shout out to event staff everywhere, frankly. We really do appreciate you. Shout out to security. Now, with, like, audio, do you have to keep your speakers pretty safe from the water, or is it really just, like, the back end of it?
Yeah, I mean, the cabinets don't really have any special coating or anything. It's literally just spray paint.
Get some enamel, man. You gotta at least put some enamel on there.
Build some more.
Yeah.
But no, it's we're a really scrappy operation. So the thing about that is I kind of tie it into the aesthetic. So if everything's banged up and scraped up, it's like, it looks tough.
It's fucking punk rock. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're the. I mean, the sound system culture definitely does have some punk rock.
It ties in. It's all through ska music.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's all,
I love me some ska.
You can follow the history in a straight line.
Oh man, I love me some ska. I didn't even think about that though. I guess they needed some.
That was what they were playing on the first sound systems, was ska, rocksteady, and then reggae, dancehall, R&B.
I'm still a big fan of like that old school sound. I like that I see it a lot in drum and bass. I think is the most that I see it in, just because of my tastes, like what I like, you know. But I definitely can understand, like, that was not as mainstream like back then, right? Like you couldn't necessarily like go to a theater and do that and use their sound system. Like
Right.
they'd be like, "Get out of here, you punk rock kids."
Yeah, it's always been underground counterculture.
Yeah, that's beautiful
Attitudes.
though. Honestly, would you ever want to do like Burning Man, anything like that? Like,
Oh fuck
you,
no.
no, yeah, I was gonna say because,
Best.
oh yeah, oh man,
I've seen all the pictures. I've heard all the horror stories. I hang out in the online groups where like the big guys talk about doing their big professional jobs.
I'm in some of those. We're probably in the same groups.
Yeah, I have no interest in taking it to Burning Man.
that's
I'll
that's
take
where
it
you
out
draw
in
the
the
line.
woods in the upper Midwest anytime.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I've thrown a couple of shows back in my promoter days out in fields, and they were great. They were great. You'd be surprised how big of a sound system you can power with like a 6,000 watt generator.
Yep.
I think it was 6,000.
I think I'm at like 8,000 cap right now.
Yeah.
Which is not bad.
No, and that's actually really good for a sound system.
One of those for like $150.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think it's like, it's been a while, but I was like 1,000, 2,000, and then I think like 3,000, 6,000, 8,000, something like that.
So my vision as far as like how we're separate from the events industry, but we all have experience in the events industry and still want to do events, obviously.
Well, you're going to have to butt heads with the event industry.
So that's the tricky part, is looking for a way around it, trying to find like outdoor spots, get permits.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of work, but my goal is so back in 2020 during lockdown, Alex Sangstrom from Substance Audio in Wisconsin or Michigan. I think he's based in Michigan. I don't know. It was installed in Green Bay for a while. I just played on it. Anyway, he and I put together a group chat of all the guys around the Midwest. Like, I have a list. I don't want to forget anybody.
Yeah, shout them out.
So it'll blow you away how many people are on here. So I have like the OG tier, like the people who've been doing this since before I ever dreamed of doing it. Steelyard Sound System in Cleveland, Ohio. Beatdown Sound in Chicago.
I've actually heard of them.
Those are like the original Dons as far as I'm concerned. They use the scoops, very traditional sub. Steelyard has some of the Altec Lansing highs. That's actually where I got the idea from.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so two amazing hand-built reggae sounds. We got Champion Sound, who's in a class of his own.
Shout out.
Iowa Techno with they've got a full turbo sound rig.
Nice. Okay.
And then there's Substance, which is a mix of Martin, Function One, and then the subs are homemade. Those are single 21-inch tapped horns.
Holy shit.
The same subs they built for the black box.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Same
Man.
ones. Yeah, those are... It's like...
That can throw some distance, man.
Dude, it turned that room into like a swimming pool. It was like, the floor was like a trampoline. Liquid Dance Hall in Michigan.
All right.
Quad City, who I mentioned in Iowa. Headway, Spook Audio, both out of Wisconsin. Both hand-built systems.
Man, that's awesome.
Put like doing their own stuff in their own circles. And then a bunch more on the come up. There's Wuji Hi-Fi in Iowa, Harvest Hi-Fi in Nebraska, Wisco Flex. There's Ben Smith locally, who's with Bump Day.
I've heard of him, but I'm not.
He's been building. Allegro Audio, Swift Sounds. I could go on.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
awesome.
there's a huge
there's a lot of them.
subculture. Yeah.
That's kind of nice though, because like what I would dream of is doing like a tour, and then like getting like sound systems at each stop.
That's exactly
Like,
what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
like that
So
would be
we're-
fucking sick.
We're trying to organize ourselves in such a way that we could present that to touring artists and be like, here's a route, here's all
Yeah.
the stops, like, and just we all pitch in together and set up the hospitality and everything beforehand.
Oh man,
And just like,
yeah.
here's a ready-made United States tour of DIY sound systems.
I'd be down. I mean, my music is
That's the goal.
specifically designed for that. Like, I write dubstep mostly, but I mean, I fuck around in everything. But that's primarily what I spin and what I produce.
And knowing that your delivery system is going to be designed that way
Exactly.
affects the way you create your
Exactly.
music.
Exactly. When I'm producing, I really am thinking about how this is going to feel when you're experiencing it at a loud volume, reproduced very effectively and
I only
critically
want this
clear.
sound to come out of this box, not this one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to finally EQ that.
Right. It's important to the GhostEater brand as well because we're very technologically focused, as you can imagine. And so that's obviously fundamental. Like, fundamental to the GhostEater project is the music, and that music needs to be presented in a proper way. So that's why, like, I mean, shout out to Mark. He gave me a great deal. I hired him for my first GhostEater experience show, just because I honestly didn't know anyone else at the time. Like,
Well, and
Darren
why
was-
the hell not? What do you want?
like Darren was gone, you know, and I
Right.
didn't know of you yet.
There was that hole to fill.
Yeah, and so I hit up Mark, and they show up to it was at the VFW, the Uptown VFW.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the first shows down there. Like, TC started doing some stuff there shortly
I remember
afterwards. But I was a pioneer, bro. And they showed up, and I paid them like $500. I was like, just give me what I can get for $500. Like, I don't really have any money left.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He might have a name brand sound system, but he's not a corporate dude by
Exactly.
any fucking means.
So he was like, okay. So he shows up, and they come in the room, and they're like, we need to bring more speakers in here. Like, we just need to bring in more sound. This is a perfect room for a bigger sound. So they gave me it was like almost their full rig, which is too much sound, frankly, for that room. My dad has a favorite story. You know, when I went on, of course, I was like, you know, I was the headliner or whatever, so they cranked it when I went on.
Oh, yeah.
In my intro, I knew that I was getting the Avoid rig, so I created an intro that, like, really, really put those subs to work. And we shook the room so heavily. And the VFW, they were not prepared. They didn't know. I didn't really explain it, you know. They didn't really know what was going on. So all of a sudden, their bottles started being shaken off the shelves. And so they panicked, you know. They're like, oh, so they had to, like, quickly, like, they had to take down half their bar.
Oh, my God. Yep.
And I was like, yeah, I probably should have explained. But, I mean, that's what it is. But that's a part of it. It's the whole GhostEater experience is intended to be physiologically overwhelming.
Word.
Like, that's the idea. It is intense. The whole thing is intense. It's supposed to be intense, you know, and it's just
the
intense.
voids are pretty intense.
It's just intense for a little bit. We take, you know, and we'll get you in there too. We'll definitely have to do a warehouse style party. Get you in there for that.
That little spot that we just did, California Street.
Yeah.
I don't know if that one's available anymore. That was
man.
a perfect room.
I saw pictures. I wasn't there, but that's exactly what we were looking for.
That's a vibe. That's like church to me.
Yeah. See, that GhostEater goes really good in those kind of environments. And I mean, I mix pretty traditionally. Like, when I'm up there, I am just DJing like a regular DJ. I have in-ears in, and I'm just regularly mixing. So it's easily adaptable, but it leaves a lot of room too for doing cool stuff.
Right.
You know,
You could present that all kinds of different ways,
Right.
depending on the context.
and it's a lot like it's easier to do like a festival, for example. If I can just not make a lot of noise, not be a pain in the ass, like I'll just come and DJ and then I'll leave.
Yeah.
You know, like the face computer is its own thing. I just need a little space over by Monitor World for my face guy, and that's it.
Boom.
Oh, look at that! We have talked for an hour and a half, bruv.
Already?
Oh wow, that's actually I gotta. I have stuff I gotta do after this. That I really can't be late for. It's my human mother's birthday
Oh,
tomorrow,
goodness.
and we're celebrating. I
All
really
right.
can't be late. It's very
Let me
important.
not get in the way of mom.
Yeah,
I don't want to be
no.
that guy.
Yeah, you know, I may be an alien creature, but I am still afraid of my mom. Oh, but hey, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. Like, I love talking about speakers and nerding out with you.
I could go all day, man. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
having me. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks again. How can we get a hold of you one more time? You said it's your Instagram. What
Yeah,
is that?
Instagram is the best place.
Ed.in, I-N-N,
INNA.BIN.
I-N-N-A. .bin. There you go. See?
Thank you for
Fucked it up
listening
right
to-
there.
Head in a bin.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to GhostEater and Friends.